Let's start talking about the Karachi Kings, continuing with David Warner as captain. Davey Warner, he's
Were you
back.
surprised by that, bro?
I think these franchise teams have to sort of think about themselves instead of thinking about the Pakistan national team. If you remember a few years ago, Karachi was in the same situation where they'd won the PSL with Ahmad team as captain, and then Babar Azam was like the poster boy of Pakistan cricket at that time, became captain as well.
Yeah.
And then they named him captain of Karachi Kings, which again, his batting form continued. He was always top with the run scoring charts, but that didn't really translate into success for Karachi. And then he eventually left the franchise. So I think probably the right call, because I think the other thing that they probably take a look at is continuity, right? Karachi's obviously had a troubled time over the years, but last season they finally made the playoffs again. They had a really good group stage, and I think David Warner was a big part of that. I think his batting form could probably have been a little bit better, like in the way he led the team, and I think he was a really good part of the group as well. So I think it made sense being new to the team and coming in from Islamabad. It I think made sense to stick with Warner.
And I think last year was like the first time in a long time that Karachi was a fun team to watch. So there's no need to
I
change
think
it.
they're trending in the right direction. Like I think they,
Yeah.
if you like, I mean, if you just take a step back here and look at the squad, obviously they retained David Warner as captain. Uske alawa, Hassan Ali is coming back as their premier like spearhead fast bowler again, which, you know, for people who only watch international cricket, I think calling Hassan Ali like a spearhead is maybe something that you get surprised by. Like, okay, like he doesn't really perform. He hasn't part of the Pakistan T20 side for a while. But I think what we have to take into context is that this isn't international cricket. This is PSL, and the standard is a little bit different. And Hassan Ali is the highest wicket taker in PSL history. So, like, you know, that speaks for itself in terms of his record there. And I think last year he was pretty good in terms of his performance. I think he's another leader in their dressing room. I think if you're talking about Salman Ali Agha being considered for captain outside right now, like I think he would be their default vice captain, Hassan Ali, just because of the way like he's been coming through with them for the last season as well.
Were you surprised when their retentions? I'm just surprised they didn't hang on to like a young guy like Niazi or something like that.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't
I
know
think
how
I
they
think
kind of
Niazi,
remember it.
I think that's a fair shot. I think I was listening to an interview with Heather Ezra, who's their GM or team director, and he said that Niazi was one that was tough for them to let go. And I think it makes sense. He almost seemed like a future captain for them, but like some teams have had to make some really difficult decisions. Ultimately, you can only retain 4 players, and you can only retain like 1 player per like category, and so you have to make some tough calls.
I get your point. I just maybe with the fact that Hassan Ali is in his 30s now and maybe not, you know, in that same prime form that we remember from him. It was slightly surprising for me to see him get retained. But again, like no complaints from my side. Like I definitely understand the value of having him there.
I think it makes absolute sense for me. And I
Yeah,
think like his performance last year was pretty solid. I think that
that's
speaks for
a
itself.
good energy guy as well, right? For any team,
Yeah,
I think.
absolutely. He's a great player to have in the squad as well. And he can like, you know, hit it a bit at the end, which like is always
Yeah.
valuable in a T20 team as you're looking to extend your batting.
I think this will make our team, but I think this was the easiest team for me to make.
I think this is pretty straightforward. One change that they've had from the auction, instead of saying that the draft all the time, is Johnson Charles is pulled out. So Reza Hendricks has replaced him, which I think like both of them have had good performances in the PSL before. Reza Hendricks is a little bit more solid, while Johnson Charles probably a little bit more explosive. So maybe like, you know, to pair with David Warner, I don't think there'll be any issues there. But
Yeah.
just going from the top, I think if you look at their squad, like let's talk about the foreigners here. I think they have pretty solid like foreign players. David Warner, Moeen Ali, Adam Zampa, I think was a huge group for them.
Great
I
pickup.
think that they like really lucked out in getting him for the price they did in the auction. I think like he brings real pedigree, and I think, I know, apart from obviously Quetta have Abrar and Usman Tariq, but I think apart from them, and even probably like you'd say in terms of the consistency he's shown over the years, like probably like the best leg spinner in this tournament overall. So I think it's a
Probably
huge
one
shout.
of
I
the
think,
best in the world. Right?
yeah. So I mean, I think that's a huge coup. I think with Warner and Moeen Ali, the question mark will always remain in the sense that they're little bit older now. Are they still in peak form, having retired from like internationals? But I think David Warner was fantastic in the BBL. I think उसने एक या 200 मारे उसमें.
These types of guys retire from their international
Mm,
teams and they just
mm.
go play franchise for the next few years.
Yeah, correct.
As long as
Yeah.
they're too far removed from retirement, they usually come and do really well wherever they go. Well, I think it's a really good team, man. Like Moeen Ali is a really, really big pickup as it pertains to like league cricket. And I think Azam Khan is a good pickup for them as well.
I think for BSL level, as a spin hitter, someone looking to like rejuvenate his career, he'll be motivated as well. There's a few players in their team who like will be motivated to have good seasons. I think Salman Ali Agha, coming off like a pretty horrendous T20 World Cup as captain, as with the bat as well, will be motivated. And I think he's a really good pickup. I think getting like a local batter in the top 3 or 4 who can bowl off spin, pretty consistent across the years, I think that's a very strong pickup from Karachi. Or I think Abbas Afridi is the other one who it baffles me why he's not in the Pakistan setup at all over the years. So I think him, again, he always seems to have
a lot of people who were,
Mm.
in and around the team since Hassan came in. And this guy didn't even seem like he was an afterthought for these guys. So he, like you rightly said, I think he's gonna try to go crazy this year.
Yeah, I
Would
think
you-
honestly, like we said, the team pretty much picks itself. I think like Warner will be opening up with their other openers in the squad are Reza Hendricks or Mohammad Wasim. Now, Mohammad Wasim was the original pick, and Reza Hendricks is the replacement.
What
Pedigree.
else do you-
I was gonna say, like on the face of it, you might think that Reza Hendricks is the obvious pick, but I think they'll want some explosive batters at the top of the order, and I think they're gonna go hard in the power play, especially looking at like their middle order. So I
Yeah.
think I would tend to agree with that.
So that's two overseas players already.
Or-
Agha, Azam, and Moeen, the next three.
I was actually gonna go with, so I think this is where a question comes in, right? Because yes, the PSL's gotten rid of like the emerging player, but it still is there in essence, because you essentially they've changed the definition of it. So now it's like an under 23 player who hasn't been capped for Pakistan. So if you look at their squad, I think that's a really crucial part of the makeup of any squad. And so they're Saad Beg, wicketkeeper batsman / top order bat. They have Shahid Aziz, who's a fast bowling all-rounder, and then they have Rizwanullah, who I don't know much about, but he's a right arm pace bowler. So I think that's what you have to keep in mind. So like last year, Saad Beg, I think, batted at 3 in certain games, but then I think he might have gone dropped later on in the tournament, if I'm remembering correctly. So I think the question mark still remains whether he's like, a T20 batter in terms of the strike rate. Like in a national T20 make the innings TSC that he like showed that he can do that. So it'll be interesting to see whether they start with him. But having like banked on Azam Khan as the keeper, I think they'll probably go in with him. So I'm inclined to say that they won't pick Saad Beg to start with.
So you do have Agha, Azam, Moeen in some order next. And
Yeah,
those
exactly.
two, right?
Exactly. I have exactly that.
Okay.
I have Agha, Moeen, and Azam rounding off the top 5, and then Khushtad Shah at 6 as well. So I think just
Perfect.
talking through that middle order, I think pretty solid, pretty experienced, like internationally proven as well. I think one thing you could say it's a bit hit or miss in sense of like Salman, Moeen, Azam, and Khushtad all can go big, but they can also like have their days off. And I think so that's something that Karachi will have to contend with. But I think all in all, like, I mean, I don't think you can do much better in terms of a batting lineup. Like they have it.
Solid.
I think that
The solid
yeah,
lineup.
they're solid across the board. They have like some spin bowling options as well. And
then
then
you have three guys who bat after that as well, right?
exactly.
Right. So if one of them can, obviously someone's gonna have to take responsibility. It'll be interesting to see who plays, right? But
Mhm.
you would think that a guy like Moeen Ali or Khushtad Shah will have more awareness by at this stage in their careers, right? So they can kind of read
Yeah.
the situation. Because I think that's the big if with this team is who is going to come in and read the situation, right? So I think that
Yeah,
those
exactly.
two, plus David Rizwanullah as well. Someone should be able to do that.
One thing that stands out is their ability to play spin. Like in that middle order, Salman Ali Agha ka dekho, Moeen Ali, and then even Azam Khan. I think that's pretty fantastic. And then Khushdil is a little bit better against pace. So I think it balances out nicely. And I think honestly, like Khushdil Shah, again, one of those players like Hassan Ali, where like you tend to think of him in the Pakistan setup, but in PSL level, like I think he's probably one of the most consistent finishers over the last few years, whether it be with Multan. I mean, there'll always be that lasting image of him needing 4 of the last ball in that final and then getting run out a few years back with Multan. But I think he's been pretty
Then
consistent.
look
I
for
think
them.
in the early years it was Asif Ali, but I think in the last years Khurshid Shah has been like that
Put them in the
local
previous step.
finishing batsman. Yeah. Or
And then after that, I've gone with four fast bowlers in Zampa.
yeah,
I've
same.
gotten with. Would you agree, Shahid Aziz is the guy that
Yeah. Agree. I
like
think just because a
this is the point
pace
I want to
bowling
touch
all
on
rounder.
because I think there's no way you could ever get franchises to do this because the franchise league at the end of the day. But I think franchise owners, franchise management need to realize that by serving Pakistan cricket, it'll ultimately make your franchise better as well. You have to look at what the country needs. The fact of the matter is that if you have a guy, and I'm not talking just about Karachi, I'm talking in general, a guy like Shahid Aziz is somebody who they're tipping as a fast bowling all rounder. And Pakistan, for the better part of the last 15 years, has been in search for that. So I would love to see him get an extended run. And there's a lot of other players and other teams who I would like to see that extended run. But yeah, I think eventually PSL is going to have to start thinking differently about how they make their teams. For example, we see so much a guy is going to be opening in the PSL and they're going to be batting at number 5 for Pakistan or number 4 for
Yeah.
Pakistan, right? If you know that that's the case, have that guy bat lower down the order or whatever. I'm
But
just saying if you serve the ultimate cricketing system a little bit more, it'll ultimately benefit your own franchise as well.
I
And
would
I think
challenge.
that
I mean, I would challenge that that is almost a player's responsibility. A lot of players, and I think it's a consequence of the system as well. Like players know, okay, like जो जिसने ज़्यादा runs बनाए वो team में आएगा, and ज़्यादा
yeah,
runs naturally top order में बनते हैं. But it's also the player's responsibility to consistently play in those positions so that they're seen. Like for example, you look at someone like Khwaja Nafi. We do talk about him in quite a, but like he can also be considered a top order player, but he started to come in the middle order, I think, and hopefully this season in Quetta he also plays in the middle order because that's the need of the country. Same with like
nothing a lot as well.
Hassan
Same
Nawaz
thing.
as well. So yeah, so I think that's it's a good shot there. And to be fair, like if you look at Karachi, and that's why I think like the franchise is trending in the right direction after like a few years like in the wilderness, and a few pretty awful years. Like I don't think any Karachi fan was like happy to watch the franchise either. But if you look at what you said, like pace bowling all rounders, they have Shahid Aziz, they have Hamza Sohail, who again is another all rounder was a pace bowler, and then Abbas Afridi as well. So they have like good options and they have like good backups in that phase as well. So yeah, to round off their team, then we'd say the pace bowlers like Hassan Ali, Mir Hamza. I think Mir Hamza is really good pickup again. Left arm pacer who like traditionally again isn't seen as someone who's like express pace, but I think he'll probably give you more of your overs up top. But he always seems to make use of whatever early swing in the first few is jitna bhi hota hai T20 mein. And I think he's one will probably want to front load in terms of his overs. So I think on the face of it, another really good pickup and gives you that balance in your attack. And then obviously Abbas Afridi is there as well. Really solid middle overs bowler as well as that, like with all his variations. So I think, I mean, I would say like we said at top, like very easy to make the 11 because it's so well balanced as well. So you have like the three main pace bowling options in terms of Hassan Ali, Mir Hamza, and Abbas Afridi. You have Adam Zampa as like your spearhead leg spinner, and then you also have plenty of all rounders. So you have Shahid Aziz giving you medium pace if you need. You have Salman Ali Agha and Moeen Ali for off spin. You have Khurshid Shah for left spin. So I think they have all the bases covered.
very balanced team. If I had to nitpick a little bit, maybe just middle order options on the bench. Obviously,
Yeah.
there might be some guy who I haven't seen yet, right? Who can end up
Mhm.
lighting the tournament on fire. But I'm just talking about what we've seen. They're missing express pace, right? On the bench, if Hassanullah is back anywhere near his
Mhm.
best, then he might be a guy who slot pretty easily back into
Correct.
the 11, right? Depending on where he is.
Yeah,
In his,
if you look at where he was a few years ago, like he's on the verge of Pakistan squad. I think one thing that's I always look at in as a sign of like a good PSL team or like 11 is like, do you, because obviously those emerging players are essential. Like, are you putting them into a situation where like there's a lot of pressure on the emerging players, or where they're like anything they do is almost like a bonus? And sometimes like pressure can like almost like, as the saying goes, like make diamonds. Like you look at someone like Ali Reza who's like forced to bowl 4 overs. You see over the years, Shaheen
yeah.
Afridi, Shadab Khan, etc. But then also like
It
if you look at
backfires when
Karachi,
you do it way often, right?
yeah,
Like from what I've
yeah,
noticed in the last few years, when you try to get guys in because you have to and hide them, and we'll talk about a team that's tended to do that.
well,
But
I think the one thing I agree that obviously being thrust into those positions, like it essentially like allows the players to thrive. But I think also when you're looking at a balanced team, you also have to look at not putting too much pressure on those youngsters. So like if you look at the balance of the Karachi Kings side, if Shahid Aziz is going to be their emerging player, like he's almost like going to be given room to fail a little bit because they have so many bowling options and they have a deep batting lineup. So it frees him up to like play his natural game rather than like,
It's not a
have
disagree, Negan. You're
expectation.
absolutely right about that. My point is more so there are some teams that will get to. There's one team that will get to in particular that they play their emerging player because they have to.
Yeah.
And they have no intention of getting anything out of them at any point. So if you use it like that, it backfires because it's almost like you're playing with 10 guys at that point. And
Mhm.
then when the guy's turn does come to play, they've not had any semblance of being battle tested at any point in there.
Yeah.
So that's
Well,
the
for
point.
sure.
But yeah, you never want your emerging player in a position where you're 100% relying on him either, right? Like, of course, you
Mhm.
want that leeway. And for a guy like Saad Aziz, this is a great team to be in there for that, in
Mhm.
the sense that you can act as the fourth pacer. Abbas Afridi's there as well. They have part-time spinners higher up the order who can come in and take his overs if need be. I think they're in a good position for that thing that you're talking about.
So I think just to sum it up, they have pretty solid squad overall. I think they're like bench, maybe like you said, a little untested. They have a lot of associate players. Khuzaima bin Tanveer, Aqib Ilyas. And then, so their bench is a little untested, but I think when you have like an 11 like that, then even if you need to bring one or two players in who haven't proven themselves, I think it's a good opportunity for
Yeah.
you. So, I mean, solid overall, I'd say. I mean, I'd give them pretty strong marks in terms of where they rank. Of course, we'll talk a little bit about how they rank overall in terms of like in comparison to the other squads, but I think really good, well balanced start from
Yeah.
Karachi.
Let's move on to Lahore, the defending champions. And as I said earlier, Karachi was fairly easy to make. Lahore had a few. I had a few questions while trying to make their 11. So we can go through their team right now. Is there just before that? Is there anything that you want to
I
comment
think
about
I
that
think
before?
that yeah, I think obviously Lahore like over the last few years have been excellent. Like they are defending champions as well. They've continued to show up and win those finals and win those big games. And obviously like Shaheen has been like a spearhead for them. But I think one thing that stands out in their team is that they have a consistent squad selection for the most part. Like they're continuing to back the guys who've delivered for them over the years, and why not? Because like ever since like these guys came into the team, they've continued to go from strength to strength. So likes of like Fakhar Zaman, Abdullah Shafiq, Shaheen Afridi, Haris Rauf, Sikandar Raza as well. Pretty solid squad right there for Lahore Qalandars, and they're continuing to back them up. And I think that's going to be important because I think like this season there's a lot of change for a lot of teams, and so the teams that have been able to keep that core the same and build around it, it's going to be important going into this season.
Yeah, they have a lot of that core intact. I think so. So I was about to say Salman Mirza being gone will hurt them, but they picked him with like maybe the best ever bowler of his type ever, which is Mustafiz. That lefty who comes in and bowls cutters. So while saying that, I think that Mustafiz is there, so maybe that's not the case. I do think the issue with me when I was making this team was Shanaka got injured.
Yeah,
And I don't know if
he
they would
didn't
have
get injured. I think he's gone to the IPL.
he went to the okay, so he left.
Yeah,
So with him, I thought it would be like a very easy slot in for him to play
I
like David
agree.
recently, right?
hmm Yeah,
But
I
he's
think
not there for that. Yeah,
no, go ahead. I think I was gonna say the same. I think like Shanaka, on the face of it, like he bowls like a little bit of medium pace, but I think his batting at the
hitting.
death in particular would have been huge for them because they don't really have a like for like replacement there, and they're gonna likely have to rely on the likes of like Shaheen, Osama Mir, and then maybe even like do something that they got criticized for last year, but eventually like it paid off for them, which is like hold Sikandar as a back. When there's a player
Yeah,
like that good and who's been delivering that much, you almost want to give him as many balls as possible, but they sort of held him back to the death because they didn't have any other players to play that role. And he eventually won them the final. Like after he
that-
came back, I think he took a flight like and came back right in time for that game, and he killed quite a gladiators after that in the final. So, I think similarly they'll probably have to do like a combination of like Sikandar Raza and then like the all rounders at the end to be able to give them that firepower.
The
Um,
main thing is that their bowling is
yeah, I
maybe
think
the
their
best in
bowling
the
is.
tournament.
I don't disagree with that. I think they've gotten stronger even because it's going to be
Yeah.
interesting how they and who they leave out because like I mean obviously they used to have Zaman Khan a few years ago, then they had Salman Mirza like you said, but they've essentially added one of the most reliable emerging bowlers in Ubaid Shah, who had like in a pretty poor Multan Sultan's team last year. He was excellent, and then like you said, they've added Mustafizur Rahman as well, who's probably like apart from obviously Sikandar Raza, who I think might be like probably like the best foreign player in the PSL just in terms of pure performance. Um, I think apart from like him and Mustafizer, I think their foreign players are a little bit questionable, which is going to be interesting to see how they back it up. But again, adding Mustafizer and Obed Shah to a pace bowling lineup of Shaheen and Haris Rauf basically ticks all the boxes in terms of left arm pace, extreme pace, like guy bowling cutters as well, and like
Yeah.
variations in the middle overs. And then you've had added also like Osama Mir, who's basically like one of the most consistent performers in
He
PSL in
walks
terms
into
of like
where Richmond was last year, basically, right?
exactly, exactly. So like for like replaces probably like an upgrade in terms of his bowling. I would
Yeah.
say like definitely an
Those
upgrade at the
experience is
PSL.
definitely
Yeah, at the
yeah.
PSL level as well. So I think, and he can bat a bit as well. So I think that is a good position to be in. I think their top order is pretty consistent. It's going to be the three guys last year. Fakhar Zaman opening up, Abdullah Shafiq at three. I think the other opener last year, like they gave Naeem like a full run throughout. He didn't start super well, but he ended pretty well. So I think they're probably going to back him considering like they
And they
won the
changed the
tournament.
rule because of him then in the PSL.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
the reason that was changed was basically because of this guy, right? Because he was over 23, 24, whatever. He was emerging in terms of his experience, but
Mm.
after the fact, a lot of the other owners were complaining that these guys too old to be emerging and whatnot. So I think that rule being changed has a lot to do with him. He is no longer an emerging. So that I think is where they're gonna have to figure out what to do. But regardless, it's gonna
Yeah.
be him, Fucker, and probably Abdullah batting
Yeah.
in the top.
Yeah, I think where my question mark with them comes in is like their other foreign players because they have like as a keeper they have yes they have Hasibullah as a local keeper, but then if you look at their entire 11, like they're not really filling those foreign slots, and so that's why in my 11 I've got one of like Pervez Hassan Iman from Bangladesh who is an
In,
opening batsman, but he could come in at number 4, or like they have Ruben Herman from South Africa, whose record, to be fair, like is not that great. Like his strike
yeah,
rate in this year's SA T20, I was taking a look at it, was like just 110. So I think like
I had him on at 3 and I had Abdullah at 4, but you can obviously switch that.
I mean, I wouldn't tinker with something that works well in terms of like Abdullah. I think he's been really good at number 3 for them. I would continue. I would
Yeah,
like put the new foreign player at 4 rather
that's
than
true.
mess up
He can bat at
what's
4th and
working
he
well.
went to the 5,000 blocks. He did a very good job at number 4.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
So
so
I think
just in terms of, I don't know how capable Iman is, you know,
mm, middle overs.
batting. Again, you can have Hasibullah before as well. He's played that for Peshawar in the past.
You
So
could, yeah. Again,
Iman toss up for me.
yeah. The rules say that you have to play 3 foreign players. So like if you pick
Yeah,
Hasibullah, you could go with 3 foreign players to have the full quota of 4. Then they have Tayyip Tahir as well if they wanted like another middle order batsman. So
yeah.
they have like some bench strength across like we've already spoken about their fast bowling options, but then they also have like some good domestic talent. And I mean players who've been at the international level as well. I guess Hasibullah and Tayyip Tahir both played for Pakistan.
Hussain Tagat, I think, is going to miss out because of injury. Otherwise, he
Yeah,
probably would have done in 11, right?
for sure. I think he probably would have gone in there. He was there I can't remember if he was in Peshawar last year or if he was in
He
Lahore, but he
showered
has
last
played for
year.
Lahore before. Yeah.
He was only-
But yeah, that's a miss for them.
Because of the
And then the,
emerging players they signed, I couldn't get Tayyip Tahir into the team.
yeah, same.
Because
I think
for me, if I just break it down simply, Raul, Shaheen Shah, and Mustaqim have to play. Osama Amir has to play. So I didn't know how to get Obed Shah into that team. So then I
yeah.
had to go with Padu, who I don't know that much about, but I thought it
Like
was
his record didn't seem that convincing to me. So like I was initially trying to do the same where I was like, you already have 3 pacers. You don't necessarily need another one in Obed Shah, but I also like just like watching Obed Shah bowl, and so I didn't
I love listening to Obed
want
Shah. Bro.
to take him out of the 11, and so it's a little bit of personal bias there. But I think you have to play someone like him, especially if
If he
like
was
you
in the
don't have like
batting
a
order,
convincing.
their batting, the tail starts a little bit too early anyways on this team.
यार हम ये कहते हैं लेकिन उनका कप्तान कौन है वो कप्तान अपने आप को तो कम नहीं समझेगा ना शाहीन
Oh,
if he's
not at
batting at
all.
7 I don't think like maybe from like us making the 11 we'll look at that and say okay like that's a question mark but I think he's ready
Actually,
to
I
come at
haven't
number
looked
3
into
if
that.
he
Not
wants
that
to.
bad at all. It's just the fact that I have Osama Mir above him
Mm.
or you could put him above Osama Mir at 7.
Yeah,
And I have Gay before that.
yeah.
So
So I think one thing that
like,
I
it's
thought
even
that they
like
could
that. I
potentially,
have Gay at 7.
yeah,
Um, so you could actually put Obed Shah in then, because I think if Shaheen Shah is coming in at number 8 with Osama Mir to follow, it's not the worst thing. Like,
yeah. I think for me there's like two options. So I because I had Obed Shah in my 11 throughout. Mustafizer was the one who was a question mark, but then again he's their direct signing. They spend a lot of money on him. Like it's hard to see him missing
what's
out,
up with
and
the
especially
bro?
yeah. So I think in that sense, like either you're right, like you. Yeah, but again, Farouk is like a top order batsman, so it'll be interesting to see what they do. But
Yeah.
as far as like their fast bowling side goes, it's like a good problem to have. But with their batting stock, it might be um,
Bro,
a
maybe
little
what you're saying
challenging.
is not. I don't, because if you play Obed Shah, like, so you have Gay at 7 or Sikandar Raza at 7, however you want to do that. Um, then actually, then let's say you take Farouk out and you put Obed Shah in, you would have Gay at 6 and you'd have Shaheen at 7, Usama Mir at 8, and Obed Shah can bat. I think out of the Shah brothers,
Mm.
he also, all the Shah brothers bat a bit. I think he can hit as well, but he'd be coming in at 9. So
Mm.
you can take a risk, but Shaheen Shah at 7 is like really high as well at the same time.
I think so. I think let's walk through the 11 because I think I'm missing what your entire 11 is. So obviously Fakhr,
Yeah.
Naeem, and Abdullah Shafiq is the top three, and then Iman at 4. And who's your number 5?
I have Farouk at 5.
Farouk at 5. Farouk is a top order bat, no? From what I've seen, like of his
You have someone
record.
else instead of him.
Sorry?
Then you have someone else instead of him.
I had Sikandar Raza at 5, and I had Velalagi at 6, and then I had like Ubaid Shah and Mustafi. So I had like a pretty long, almost like a long tail because I had Shaheen Osama at like
That's what I'm
7
saying.
and
So
8.
you didn't play Farouk. You went for Ubaid as the
Yeah,
emerging player.
correct. And again, like maybe
Yeah.
it's overkill because they already have Sikandar Raza who can bowl 4 overs. They have Velalagi, they have Osama Mir, and then they have 4 fast bowls. I don't think you necessarily need that, but I don't, none of their batsmen are convincing. So I think their batting could be like, again, I say it could be a question mark, but they have like a very reliable top, or at least 2 of the top 3 in Fakhr and Abdullah. And then they have Sikandar Raza, who's excellent. But I think a lot will be dependent on those guys again. So Fakhr Abdullah
Shaheen
and
at 7 is really
Sikandar.
good. That's the only
Yeah, I
thing
agree.
that, right?
I think Fakhr, Sikandar Raza, and Abdullah Shafiq will have a lot on their shoulders. I think that would be like the main challenge for Lahore Qalandars. In terms of like if one of those guys is out of form, that could be a question mark for them in terms of do they have like the backups, do they have like the bench strength to be able to like change things around if it doesn't work out for them.
Maybe you'll see them then play the other keeper, the new signing, as the middle order guy.
Mm.
And they'll have Farouk bat at number 3 and have Abdullah at 4.
Yeah,
Maybe they might do something like that.
that's fair.
That's the one thing I'm not sure about. Otherwise, the
Mm.
team looks
Or
really
maybe,
good.
yeah, potentially they could even like not play Valal again, just play like the 2 keeper batsmen instead because they already have so many bowling options. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do.
You
But at
only
least like
have
I
5
think,
bowling options then, right?
well, you have Sikandar Raza as well. Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
you're right. Yeah.
I don't know if you have a 6th option then in that case.
So I think where ultimately, like, obviously we can try to establish their 11, but they have some options. And I
Yeah.
think ultimately, like, this is something that we've seen with Lahore over the years. I don't think like these problems are anything new, and they've always
Yeah.
managed to like work their way around that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think like obviously over the years they've had Sam Billings in the middle order, so I think someone like him like really makes a big difference. But I don't think they had him last year
Yeah.
either, and they still managed to do pretty well. So they should be
That's,
fine.
that's so true. Even
Um,
like their own, I think they had last year. But yeah, the point remains they have like excellent bowling. And they have a top order that they're very comfortable with at the end of it.
yeah,
And those are
correct.
the guys who, if those guys do a lot of heavy lifting,
Mm.
and then you have the Sikandar Razas of the world who do a lot of heavy lifting lower down the order.
Yeah,
So they have a
exactly.
formula that works for them. And a few years ago, I think they lost Rashid Khan and they didn't they couldn't really replace him. Then they got
Correct.
Rashad. Now they got Osama Mir. So their bowling looks completely covered. And to add a guy like Mustaqim is really good. It gives
It's
them a better
fantastic.
option.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I guess the planning maybe could have been a little bit better. Is that if you're signing Mustafiz and you already know you have Shaheen and Haris in your team, you could have gone for like a more reliable batsman. You could have maybe gone a little bit higher on someone like Samir Minhas, who I'm very excited to talk about in Islamabad, or like, a more explosive, like younger, top order bat. But I guess
And you're saying then just back Obed Shah properly and let him have the whole season.
no, I'm saying that if they were getting Mustafiz, then like maybe instead of going for a bad shot, they could have gone for like a batsman in there to round
Oh,
out
you're
their
saying
11 a little bit better. But I mean,
yeah,
in isolation, Obetsa is a fantastic signing, but just like, does he
yeah,
make sense for their team and maybe for his own career? Would have been better
yeah.
if he got an extended run somewhere else. But yeah,
I love to see him get a game though.
but
Here,
dude, I
like
don't think. Yeah, again,
I
I
love
don't
watching
think
him
we can
play.
question Lahore. Like, we've questioned them so much; they always keep
Yeah, they
they
know what they're
deliver. So
doing. What
yeah,
they're doing.
and I think the environment is what makes this team ultimately. They
Yeah,
really relaxed. They have a really easy going environment, and I think they like Shaheen does well to lead them as well. So.
yeah,
I think one of the better squads as well. Again,
yeah. Noor is always dangerous.